Imagine you're trying to figure out if someone is telling you the truth. Perhaps it's a crucial business negotiation, a difficult conversation with a loved one, or even a high-stakes investigation. What signals do you look for? Do you watch their eyes? Notice if they fidget? Do you trust your gut feeling above all else? Many of us believe we have a knack for spotting a lie, relying on commonly accepted signs we've picked up from movies, TV shows, or even just our own experiences. But what if those very assumptions, those widely held beliefs about detecting deception, are actually leading us astray? What if, under pressure, they don't just fail us, but actively distort our judgment, causing us to make inaccurate and even harmful decisions? Today, we're going to explore how common myths about deception detection profoundly influence our choices, especially when the stakes are high. We'll uncover why clinging to these unsupported beliefs can lead to false accusations, missed critical information, and compromised outcomes, not just in professional settings, but in our everyday lives. It's a topic that remains surprisingly contentious because despite overwhelming scientific evidence, many of these myths continue to shape how institutions and individuals approach the truth. Let's begin by dismantling some of the most persistent myths that often cloud our perception. First, there's the pervasive idea that liars can't look you in the eye, or that they look in specific directions. The truth is, eye contact is highly individual and culturally varied. Someone being deceptive might hold your gaze firmly, trying to appear sincere, while an honest person might look away due to shyness, anxiety, or simply to gather their thoughts. There's no reliable eye tell. Then we have nervous behavior, fidgeting, stuttering, and general tension. These are often automatically labeled as signs of deceit. However, think about it. If you were innocent but being questioned intensely, wouldn't you feel anxious? These behaviors are natural physiological responses to stress and pressure, regardless of whether someone is telling the truth. It's not a telltale sign of lying, it's a telltale sign of being under pressure. And this leads us to another critical point. There are no single, definitive tells that reliably indicate a lie. No specific gesture, no unique phrase. Effective assessment of truthfulness requires observing patterns and changes in behavior, understanding context, and listening to the content of what's being said, rather than fixating on isolated actions. Similarly, confidence is not a reliable indicator of honesty. A skilled deceiver can be incredibly confident, while a truthful person can be hesitant. We also often prioritize body language over spoken words, believing it reveals the real truth. While nonverbal cues provide context, research actually suggests that verbal and vocal cues, what someone says and how they say it, often reveal more about potential deception than their body language alone, as explored by researchers like Judy Kathleen Burgoon. Now, layer all of this with pressure and stress, which are inherent in many high-stakes situations, like interrogations or critical conversations. Pressure naturally induces stress, and stress, in turn, triggers those very physiological responses we just discussed: increased heart rate, fidgeting, tension, behaviors that are commonly and mistakenly interpreted as signs of lying. This means an honest person under stress can easily appear deceptive. Research by experts like Bruno Verschoor, Awit Meijer, and Aldert Vrij consistently shows that increasing pressure does not improve our ability to detect lies. In fact, it can lead to more errors and even false confessions from innocent individuals trying to escape overwhelming circumstances.
Beyond external pressures, our own minds often work against us. We're all susceptible to cognitive biases, systematic errors in thinking that distort our judgment. Consider confirmation bias. We tend to seek out and interpret information that confirms what we already believe, overlooking anything that contradicts it. If you suspect someone is lying, you'll subconsciously look for cues that reinforce that suspicion. Then there's the truth bias, our natural inclination to believe others are telling the truth. This can be helpful for social cohesion, but it also means we often overestimate how truthful people are, making us vulnerable. Conversely, if we have a negative bias, we might fall prey to a visual or demeanor bias, over-relying on superficial nonverbal cues, despite evidence that they are less diagnostic than verbal information. Anchoring bias means we heavily rely on the first piece of information we receive, coloring all subsequent information. And a common pitfall is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Those with limited knowledge and deception detection often overestimate their own abilities, leading to unwarranted confidence in their flawed judgments. This brings us to a humbling truth. Scientific studies consistently show that humans are generally poor at detecting deception, often performing no better than chance. While researchers like Paul Ekman and David Matsumoto have advanced our understanding of nonverbal cues and emotional expressions, our overall human ability to accurately spot a lie remains surprisingly limited. Even technology designed to detect lies, like the polygraph, falls victim to these same fundamental flaws. Polygraphs attempt to measure physiological responses, heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, skin front activity, on the assumption that deception causes a unique, measurable physiological reaction. But these responses are not unique to lying. Anxiety, nervousness, even medical conditions can trigger them, making the polygraph an unreliable indicator of truthfulness. Pioneers like William M. Marston developed early physiological tests, but prominent critics like David T. Lycan have frankly called the modern polygraph pseudoscience. A landmark 2003 report by the National Academy of Sciences concluded that the scientific basis of the widely used comparison question technique polygraph test was weak. This lack of scientific validity leads to significant controversy. While polygraphs are still used by some law enforcement and government agencies, the scientific community largely agrees their accuracy is highly questionable, often yielding high rates of both false positives and false negatives. There's even debate about the bogus pipeline effect, whether the polygraph's perceived infallibility, rather than its actual accuracy, pressures individuals into confessions. And again, the inherent stress of a polygraph examination can cause physiological reactions identical to those attributed to deception, potentially penalizing innocent individuals. This is why polygraph evidence is often restricted or inadmissible in legal proceedings in many jurisdictions. The core problem is this persistent gap. Why do institutions continue to rely on unproven deception detection methods despite overwhelming academic research debunking their efficacy? It's a critical question that demands better communication and collaboration between researchers and practitioners to adopt truly evidence-based methods. So, where does this leave us? The journey through deception detection myths reveals a profound truth. Our preconceived notions and our own cognitive biases, especially under pressure, are far more likely to distort our judgments than they are to help us find the truth. Relying on supposed tells is not only ineffective, but can have severe, unfair consequences.
The future of deception detection isn't about finding a magic bullet or a perfect lie detector. Instead, it emphasizes a crucial shift, moving away from pseudoscience and toward scientifically validated approaches. This means adopting methods proven to be more effective for information elicitation and truth assessment, rather than simply trying to spot a lie. For each of us, this means becoming more aware of our own cognitive biases. It means understanding that nervousness doesn't equal guilt, and that confidence doesn't always equal honesty. In professional settings, it means rethinking interrogation strategies, moving away from pressure-based tactics towards rapport-building and information-gathering approaches. This not only reduces the risk of false confessions, but actually improves the chances of obtaining accurate and valuable information. Organizations like Forensic Strategic Solutions and Humintel are at the forefront of this shift, working to debunk myths and provide scientifically grounded training. By embracing these evidence-based strategies, we can move towards a more informed, effective, and ultimately a more just approach to understanding truth and deception, making better decisions when it truly matters.